It's the only podcast that broadcasts 438 miles between each other, and it happens to be in a dorm area and in two cities. Glad to have you with us. I'm George Koff here in College Station alongside my co-host in Lubbock, Desmond. Glad to have you with us on the Fifth Quarter Podcast, Season 2, Episode 3, which makes it an overall episode number 23 total. Desmond, how are you doing on this lovely Friday afternoon?
Well, George, I I cannot complain. Weather's not that bad. It was a good day. Class was good. Work was good. This chest is about to be good. It's a good day, George.
I agree. I agree. And it's interesting. We're doing it on a Friday night. Sorry for the delay, folks. On instead of being on our usual Thursday spot, we had some schedule complications, but don't worry. We're back. We're back better than ever. We're gonna talk the Texas A&M games, talk the Texas Tech game, talk some other games in a week that has no ranked on ranked matchups, and much more as we get into this. Desmond, you ready to get into this for
Let's get
this
this,
week?
George.
All right. All right.
You already know I'm ready.
All right. Let's get into this. So, of course, gosh, it seems like an eternity ago. The Aggies took on Clemson this past weekend. They went into the number one team's house, and just as expected, didn't come out with a win, but they did look pretty decent in it. They had lots of confidence. Aggies actually took the lead. Not gonna lie, they had a 3-0 lead in the second quarter. That would be the only lead that they'd have. And in fact, until the last possession, that would be the only points they would score. But Clemson and Trevor Lawrence found their groove in the 17-point second quarter, and that your final was 24-10. Desmond, I want to hear your thoughts before I get a little bit more into the game. What did you see that you liked or didn't like on
Well,
Saturday?
well, George, I don't know if you saw my Snapchat story, but I was repping the maroon last week
Okay.
because
Okay.
my brother-in-law and sister and all their friends, they were at a baby shower for my sister, and so I was forced to wear an A&M shirt. Tried to wear my Texas Tech shorts. They said, "Ha, probably not the right attire." Had to change, but this is the first week I would ever say, because I was spending time with family, and that was around game time for Texas Tech. But this is the first time that I'll ever say I saw more of the Texas A&M game than I saw the Texas Tech game.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
Yes, only because spending time with family. We had family dinner during the Texas Tech game, so it's kind of hard to watch. Um, but I think, I mean, if you look at let's be honest, I think Clemson had control pretty much the whole game. Um, I know you say that 3-0 lead. I don't think there was any part of the game where I was like, I'm sorry, I just thought A&M had a chance. I mean, but also if you look at it, a 14-point loss to the number one ranked team and defending national championship is not bad. It's not that bad if you look at it.
No,
And one of the
I
things,
I,
yeah, and
I
one of the things I
perfectly
noticed,
agree.
mhm. One of the things I noticed was I think A&M's defense played really well. They held Clemson scoreless in two quarters. I honestly think it was the offense. I mean, Kellen Mond threw 57%, and he just was throwing high, throwing behind. Receivers were dropping just easy catches. I think that's what stood out to me was the offense.
Yeah, there was too many crucial changes in momentum as well, and in changes in possession. Aggies had a fumble on the 50-yard line, an interception in the red zone, too many punts, and I just think the defense played well. The offense just did not. And 24 points. Let's be honest. It's probably gonna be a low season low in scoring for Clemson. Okay. It's not. It wasn't the shootout that either one of us thought it was going to be. Miles Jones got another interception to add to his resume in this early season. That's two on the year in two games. I just think the best thing about this, having a game like this very early, and it's the same thing we saw last year, you get an opportunity to bounce back. And a good opportunity. Of course, you have Lamar coming into Kyle Field. They're 2-0. They're off to their best start in recent memory. However, they have not beaten an FBS team ever. They're not gonna beat an FBS team ever, at least anytime soon. Jashawn Corbin, our starting running back, went down against in Clemson, season-ending injury. So Isaiah Spiller, the backup, now is the number one. Gets a chance to give him some more touches and really see what he can do as the starter. Aggies are favored by 43 points. I don't see anything surprised. That's a big margin, but I think A&M will cover. They will get that many points on the board. Let's go beat Auburn. Let's go beat let's go beat Lamar so we can go face Auburn. I've got the Aggies 59, Lamar 6. Desmond, give me yours.
Well, George, this is like a warm-up game, a bounce-back game from losing to Clemson. I have them winning 48-13.
Oh, so you do think that Lamar is going to get some more points on the board?
I think that they'll at least score one touchdown. They'll get lucky one play.
What makes you think that?
Because there's always there'll be there'll be like miscommunication or defense. They just go on a long run for a touchdown. There's always one play like that.
Well, again, that game is on Saturday, which happens to be tomorrow, and is at 6 p.m. kickoff on ESPNU. Now let's turn the page to the school in Lubbock and the Red Raiders, as the Red Raiders held the Miners of UTEP to only 3 points in a 38-3 victory last Saturday. Desmond, break it down for me.
George, I don't even really want to talk about this game. It's honestly sometimes, in my opinion, sometimes it's not fair for all these big schools playing little schools that really don't stand a chance. You know what I'm saying? I expected a win.
I do.
Honestly, I expected a little more points from our offense, but it's what it is. But what I do like from the game is, again, our rushing. We had over 160 yards, and I told you I really like how we're not just passing this year. Last year was a lot of passing, unless we had Jet Duffy, and then he's a mobile quarterback, so he got a lot of rushing yards. But I'm happy that we're getting our running backs more touches. I think that's really going to help us out in the long run.
Well, and I think you have to mention the fact that defense really was the story of the game here for Texas
yes,
Tech.
True, but we were playing UTEP.
I mean, you allowed only 131 total yards. Still haven't gotten that first turnover of the season. So that's definitely something that you're looking at. Could play a huge part going into the rest of the season. You're right. Alan Bowman was not at his best, but he did lead 5 touchdown drives. He had 260 passing yards. I don't think you can be mad at that in any outcome, especially with a 38-point production and a 35-point win. Desmond, your thoughts headed into this weekend, tomorrow. They take on Arizona in Tucson on the road. First time in 30 years that they play this game. Red Raiders lead the series 26-4-2. They're favored by 3 points in this game.
Only 3?
What's your thoughts? Only 3.
Wow. Okay. Oh, I have them winning by 20, but
wow.
Obviously, Arizona is going to be the hardest team we've played, but I don't think they're anywhere close to how good we are.
What was your score prediction?
44-24.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I think this is going to set up for a very interesting storyline in 2 weeks as the Texas Tech Red Raiders take on Oklahoma in that Jalen Hurts-led offense. I have Texas Tech winning this game as well, 34-28. I have it by 6. I believe Arizona will compete, but it's not looking good for Kevin Sumlin there down in Arizona. Again, that game is at 9:30 on ESPN. Desmond, did you want to add something? I sound like I may have cut you off.
I was going to say, I'm surprised that it's 3. Did they just lose to Hawaii?
Who, Arizona?
Yeah.
They lost 2 weeks ago to Hawaii.
All right, but still, why is it only? I'm just surprised it's only 3 points. I don't see it.
And that spread has gotten that line has actually decreased a little bit. It was 4, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday. Now it's closed at 2.5.
I mean, then I'm just looking at the schedule. They gave up 41 points to Northern Arizona. I'm surprised it's 3 points. Northern Arizona, 41 points.
I mean, you're bringing very good points, Desmond. I mean, go try to bring that to Vegas. Maybe Vegas is seeing something that we aren't on the field. But regardless, do you think so? Are you telling me that they might cover, that Arizona's not going to cover, and it's going to be just a straight up outright by Texas Tech?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
All right, we'll see. We'll see. Let's convene next week and let's find out what really happened and talk about it. Because at this point, we might both be surprised on what happens. Again, that game is at 9:30 p.m. on ESPN. All right, it almost seems, again, like I said, it seems like an eternity ago. But let's talk about this past week. The Big Ten survived and or dominated. Survived in the form of Michigan, let down in the form of Nebraska, and dominated in the form of Ohio State, Maryland, Wisconsin, Indiana, Penn State, and Michigan State, all winning by 30 or more points. So, Desmond, Big Ten looks like it's kind of all over the place. Do we still have Ohio State and Michigan and Wisconsin being the kind of clear-cut favorites?
I think so. Yes, George. And sometimes it's good for a conference to kind of be like spread out. You know what I'm saying? Like where they're all just not really bad or they're all just not really good. But out of that conference, obviously.
So like the Big 12.
Yeah, exactly. But out of that conference, I mean, obviously Ohio State is going to be the front runner. You know, they're probably, in my opinion, they're probably top 5. They should be top 5 right now.
Yeah, I think they're 6 because of LSU sneaking into the 4th, into number 4 from this past week.
I honestly think LSU should be 3rd. LSU should be top 3.
We'll get there. We'll get there in a second. We'll get to the SEC in a second. So hold your peace. Hold your peace. Let's talk about the Big 12. As I just mentioned, the Big 12. Kansas lost to Coastal Carolina. West Virginia didn't show up against Missouri. Texas couldn't stop LSU on defense. What's happening to the Big 12 right now? It kind of seems like after a really good week 1, week 2's kind of just flattened out and just not really gotten anywhere.
Well, George, let's be honest. In my opinion, there are only 3, as of right now, I think there are only 3 good, real teams in the Big 12.
And those are?
Texas, Oklahoma, and you already know the third one. I don't have to mention it.
Texas Tech?
Of course. I thought Iowa State would be up there this year. I don't see it. I'm not feeling it.
Have they just not had something to prove yet? Do you think that might be they get their chance this week?
I do remember when we talked. We talked. I forget when it was, but we talked about Kansas one day. I don't remember when it was.
It might have been 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and you asked me. You said, "How long do you think
Kansas gets out of the cellar?"
Exactly. I forget what I said. I think like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, you said 3 or 4 years. We could probably run it back on the audio, but I believe you said 3 to 4 years. Are you wanting to change that? Are you seeing something different from them?
Well, I mean, they just lost to Coastal Carolina, so it's kind of hard not to change it. But then again, we're seeing all these other schools that were up there so far. I know it's kind of early, 2 games, but so far we're seeing like TCU, West Virginia, Iowa State. They're probably not as strong as they've been. Not saying they're not strong, but as they've been the past couple of years. It might help Kansas get a better chance, at least getting up higher. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. They face Boston College tonight on the ACC network, so that's definitely something that maybe if they come out of it on the road, I believe it might even be in. It might be in Lawrence. It might be on the road. I'm not entirely sure, but that might be an opportunity for Kansas to maybe make a statement and tell us who they are under Les Miles now. Speaking of Les Miles,
you lose 12-7 to Coastal Carolina. That's not making a statement.
Yeah, I mean, but they, again, they have Boston College this week, so we can see what they might do and maybe get back on the plus side and get in the win column again. Speaking of Les Miles, he obviously was previously at LSU and in the SEC. Desmond, LSU took down a very good Texas team, or what we all thought was a very good Texas team. Besides that, they also had some good wins in the form of like some mediocre opponents and Missouri got a win over West Virginia, pretty big too. It wasn't close. It was pretty big. So what's the mood in the SEC? What should it be? Should it still be Alabama, Georgia, or can we put LSU in that conversation for winning the whole thing?
I think it'd be Alabama, LSU, then Georgia.
Wow.
And let me just put the
Wow.
huh?
Wow. That's just all I'm saying is wow.
You don't think so?
Go for it. I want to hear your case.
I mean, obviously, Alabama looks strong this year. They're always Alabama, but let me say this. I think maybe people are putting a little too much hype into this Texas is back thing, but let's not deny it. Texas is still a really good football team. LSU's a great football team. Texas is still. I mean, they put up a fight. It was
Oh,
45-38.
agreed. Agreed.
It was a close game,
Agreed.
and Texas made some dumb mistakes early in the game. Like I believe, if I remember correctly, they went for two fourth and goals in a row. One was a drop pass, and the other obviously didn't work out. I mean,
Correct.
those are just careless mistakes that probably might have changed the game. Who knows? But
But are
I'm
those
just saying,
careless?
like,
Are those careless mistakes, or is that just bad play calling and bad
I mean,
execution?
it's just
Execution.
gutsy. The guts. But the first time was perfectly executed. The guy was wide open, like perfect
But
throw.
he didn't complete it. He didn't complete it.
Because he dropped it. He got. I don't know why he dropped it, but he just did. But so I don't even know. Those two things stood out because I was like, in the beginning of the game, I was like, dang, like that's gonna hurt them if the game's close towards the end of the game. Then they went for it again. I was like, dang, like you're gutsy. I was like, again, fourth and goal again.
Tom Herman's got some big old guts. I mean, I'm just gonna throw that out there. But and then let's shift the conversation that way we keep it moving here. In the ACC, obviously we know Clemson is the team to beat. I mean, that's pretty obvious.
Without
Who
a
do you, is,
doubt.
do you think there's a clear number two? Because at this point, there's still six teams that are undefeated from the ACC. Do you have a clear number two in your mind?
No, no, I don't.
Do you think there'll be somebody that competes with Clemson, or do you think it's just going to be
No,
straight up
I don't.
Clemson
I don't.
every
I don't
game
think
set
anyone
that?
will compete with. Yeah, I don't think anyone in the ACC will compete with Clemson.
And finally, in the Pac-12, do they have a hope for a college football playoff team, or is that kind of down the drain yet again? Because
No,
at this
they
point,
don't.
their only undefeated team is Washington State, and they face
No,
Houston.
they
And
don't. They do not. Not.
and
They do
so
not.
so because of that, which conferences do you think there will be a conference that gets two teams in? And if that's the case, which conference will it be?
Let's be honest, George. The only conference that has enough teams good enough to make it in.
It is
SEC.
SEC, baby. I agree with you. I think it'll be interesting to see how again, we're
I mean,
finished a week
if you look at it,
two
George,
up to week three.
true, but I'm looking at the top 10 right now. Where do half of them come from? SEC.
It's all about that Southern pride, baby. I mean, we'll just leave it at that. And so one thing I want to mention is that this week is the first week since October 14th of 2017, which was week 7 of that season, without a ranked on ranked matchup. This is according to the Bear from ESPN, Chris Falca. He's the college football researcher. Then he continued. He said, "What happened then? Well, 7 ranked teams lost that weekend, 5 as favorites, 3 as 16 or more favorites, 16 or favored by more than 16 or more points, and one of those big favorites to lose would be the Clemson Tigers over the Syracuse Orange. That just so happens to be the biggest
The matchup this week.
matchup of the week. Again, also we have Iowa State, Stanford, UCF, Pitt, Penn State, USC, BYU. You name it. There's a lot of not one-sided games, but a lot of home favorites, away favorites. You kind of just name it there. Give a second here for some of the noise to calm down. Again, we're also in a little bit of a interesting situation, but all right, here we go. So that brings me to this next part. We did a version of buy and sell early, I think in episode 1 of this year's second season. We're going to do that again because as the season's progressed, things have changed. So Desmond, we know that the dumpster fire in Knoxville is boiling. It is on fire. It can't be stopped. People are adding trash to it because that's how bad it is. It's just getting out of control. Despite what's going on, do you think the Tennessee Volunteers, that dumpster fire in Knoxville, will still somehow reach 6 wins and be bowl eligible? Are you buying or selling?
Selling. Let's look at this, George. They're 1-2. I believe they have like 10 games left.
Correct.
Of those 10 games, automatically I'm gonna cross out 4 of them: Florida, Georgia, Bama, Kentucky.
Don't forget South Carolina.
Oh, I'm exactly. But let's just put those 4. That's already down 6 games. So that means they'd have to go 6-0 against toss-up teams in order to reach 6 wins.
South Carolina, Chattanooga. Exactly. I agree. I'm selling it as well. Now, let me ask you this. If it was somehow they'll still reach 5 wins, would you buy or would you sell that?
I would sell. They're going to lose.
So you're thinking they're going.
I think that they'll lose to South Carolina too.
So you're saying 4-8, potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
That's not a situation you want to be in right now. I would not want to be a Tennessee Volunteer fan right now. If I was a Tennessee Volunteer fan, I'd be jumping onto the bandwagon of somebody else. That's how bad I think it's gotten. Okay, how about this one? Because there is no ranked on ranked matchups this week, we got a lot of teams that are playing pretty good opponents. Buy or sell? Will there be 3 top 15 teams that lose this weekend?
I'm going to say.
Now let me say this. If we extend it to the top 20, not necessarily the top 15, but the top 20, could you see 3 top 20 teams falling this weekend?
No, I couldn't.
Okay. What if I give you this? Iowa, UCF, Penn State, Michigan State.
All right, top 15.
There are 4 teams in the top 20 that could lose. And in fact, all 4 of those are favored, but only by 3 points or less.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say sell.
Okay.
Because obviously one team's going to lose in top 15 because you have Michigan and you have Wisconsin playing each other. So that's automatically one. And I think that the other team... Wait.
Michigan and Wisconsin aren't playing each other. That's next week.
Ah, dang.
They're both on bye weeks this week.
All right, I put that wrong I must have looked at the wrong date. Then no.
You good. So no, truly no, not just no on.
Yeah, truly no, not yeah.
See, I think it could happen, but I'm not buying it. I'm also selling. I think it would be very close, and we'd have to have some major upsets. But if it was the top 25, possibly. If it was
top 25, I'd like 15, okay, I could see it.
But top 15, no way. How about this one? Virginia will be undefeated, and they're going into their Week 5 matchup against Notre Dame. Buy or sell?
I'm gonna have to buy on this one. They're playing Florida State this week.
Correct.
I think they will win that game, and if they do, I mean they have Old Dominion after that. That's a win right there. So right. I'm buying.
Now, could they be ranked in the top 25 headed into that Notre Dame game? If they do win both those games. That's
kind of hard because both those teams aren't very good. But they would be undefeated,
but they would be
Yeah, they
5
would
and
be
0.
they would be undefeated, so I guess they kind of have to be ranked.
I mean, they are top. They are 24th right now. They are ranked 24th or 25th.
Yeah.
So could you see them ranked in the top 20 then? I guess that would be the better question. Not top
Yeah.
25, top 20.
Yeah. 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 Good.
And be probably the biggest test for Notre Dame thus far, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And here's the last one. Kind of leads into our games, our games that we're going to pick. If Hawaii beats Washington tomorrow, do they deserve to be ranked? Buy or sell?
I'm gonna say sell because I looked at the schedule. The only teams they've beaten are Arizona, Oregon State, and both of those teams are winless. So yes,
Arizona
beating, huh?
Arizona won last week, did they not? Didn't they beat Northern Arizona? Didn't we just establish that earlier? That they allowed 41 points to
They
Northern
did. They
Arizona
did.
but won?
My fault. I don't know when I had these notes. Today is not my day. Okay, so, but still, um, those if they beat Washington, yes, good win.
But it's still Pac-12 opponents that they beat. It's not like they were beating Northwestern South Carolina State or something like that.
True. But I don't know. I feel like you should like beat multiple good teams in order to like be ranked.
I believe that's fair. For me, I'm buying it just because I like a good story. But I think if you've got 3 wins over Pac-12 opponents, and you have good chances to knock off good solid Mountain West teams this year, because you've got like Wyoming, Boise State, Nevada, all these teams that are pretty good this year. I'm buying it. Give me the matchup between Hawaii and Boise State right now. I want to see that as a ranked matchup. I want that a top 25. I want game day to go to Boise State. That game, I want that to be like the smallest game that they go to because it would be a fun environment. Give me it right now. Game day, you better give me that matchup right now. And
George is demanding it.
now, granted, I'd be demanding it, and that's the same weekend as the A&M Alabama game in College Station, where I would believe game day could go to. So that's a lot to ask for them not to come to College Station, instead go to Boise State. All right.
Right.
Or to Honolulu, depending on where. I can't remember where it was. I believe it's in Boise State. All right. We've reached the point of the show the favorite point of the show, where we get to pick some games. We were trying to get a guest in this week, and because of timing and situations, that backfired. We will have our first guest next week. I promised. Okay, I'm not going to try to make any more promises, but I can tell you that I promise we'll have our first guest next week. All right. So again, it's just me and Desmond picking this week, and then we'll have our first guest next week. Desmond, I regret to inform you, you did not get your upset pick correct.
I did see that.
Because the LSU Tigers came into Austin and rolled out with a win. So
I don't know why I chose Texas. See, this is why I can't rely on them.
Now, granted, I had some luck for mine. Colorado had to come back from being down by 17 in overtime to win. All right, they beat Nebraska, and you looked at me like I was crazy, and still got the win. All right, so I'm 2-0, but I don't think that will last this week, just because I feel like there's enough upsets that I'm not going to be picking the right one to call an upset.
Right.
But we'll see. I also want to mention I was 11-1 last week on my picks. The only one I missed was the Stanford USC game. I thought Stanford would pull it out, and instead USC. And remember, I said last week, depending on the quarterback situation, was going to be what decided that game. And of course, USC
Quarterback
ended up
situation.
Yeah. So I have a tough act to follow with some picks this week, but we get into it with 2 games that are occurring today. The first of which is the ranked matchup that is tonight. Washington State, 20th ranked Washington State Cougars go into Houston to face the Houston Cougars at NRG, not at Houston's place, but at their home away from home in NRG. It's a good Friday night showdown. I think Washington State's got a good team. It's mentor versus apprentice, and Dana Holgerson was in Mike Leach's air raid staff at Texas Tech ages ago. I think the Washington State Cougars have to win this to keep the Pac-12's hopes alive, and they do. I've got Washington State 44, Houston 33. Desmond, go for it.
George, you know me. I'm a man of risks. This is my upset game of the week. I'll go with my small school, George. I am going. I'm showing off the Houston pride. They're winning this game 38-31.
Oh my gosh! Wow, bold right off.
You heard it here, George. We'll be talking next week.
Sure. We'll be talking about the really bad loss that Houston's going to take. I guess that game's at 8:15 tonight on ESPN, despite being in a Central Time zone when it should be at 7 o'clock.
And I'll be talking to you tonight, then, George.
All right. Next up, North Carolina takes on Wake Forest in this game that is the most random game in not being a conference matchup. Both teams are in the ACC. However, this game, they've only played. This is the second time they've played in about 5 years. So when they scheduled it 5 years ago, they said it would be a non-conference game. So that's what it's being treated as, a non-conference game. It won't count to the standings. It's at 5 p.m. on ESPN. Mac Brown's team is ahead of schedule at 2-0, 2 wins and 2 tries. And they are leading the Coastal Division. Of course, the division standings don't matter to this one. Even though it's a former Texas head coach, there at USC, start giving me the Kool-Aid, Carolina Blue Kool-Aid. I want UNC, and I like UNC in this game, 34-27 over the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Desmond?
Well, George, I think UNC is going to win this game, 32-27.
Okay. And I believe it would be the third straight week that you've picked UNC, and you would be correct. If they win this week, it'd be the third straight week you picked them, and they'd be correct.
Hopefully they're like Mike and they win.
Hey, I like that. I didn't buy into them at first, but I'm full buying into them now. So you just gotta jump on that bandwagon kind of late, but it's definitely worth it. All right, Desmond. This next game. Hawaii and Washington. Just about every game could be considered an upset this week. But for me, I got to take a team that's got to travel 2,600 miles. The coolest mascot in college football, the Rainbow Warriors, all right? Something, not just the Warriors. You got to be above and beyond. Have proven that they can take on the Pac-12. They're 2-0, and I think they can do it again. Let me give you some historical context here. The last time Hawaii traveled to Seattle, Washington, they lost by 8. They beat Arizona for the first time ever this year. They beat Oregon State for the first time since 1999 this year. They started 3-0 last year. Let's run it back. Let's start 3-0 again this year. They get their first win, upset Washington for the first time since 2007. First win over Washington since 2007. I've got the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors 45, Washington Huskies 41. Desmond, who you got?
Well, George, I think we talked about this before the show that I also agreed, saying that Hawaii was going to win this game. Unfortunately, this wasn't my upset because I felt stronger with Houston. But I think it's going to be a close game. I think that, especially considering, Washington last week didn't really show up. So I think Hawaii's going to win this one, 24-21.
Appreciate jumping on the Hawaii bandwagon here. All right. You just have to let me help you get on that bandwagon first.
One game, George. One game.
All right. Well, that game's at 6:30 on the Pac-12 networks on Saturday. And mind you, Washington is a 21-point favorite, so that would be a huge upset if it's correct. Speaking of upsets and just randomness, College Game Day is going to Ames, Iowa for the first time ever. Iowa State Iowa State Cyclones. Can't say Hawkeyes because that's who they're facing, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Um, who knows what type of environment they're going to get in Ames? I know it's going to be a rowdy environment, but it might be kind of interesting. There's a reason why the Cyclones aren't ranked anymore. I hate to be the party pooper, but Ames, you're not going to get the result you like. Iowa is just too good. I've got the Hawkeyes winning this one very comfortably, 42-20.
I'm gonna give a shout out to my boy Zach Miller. He's been talking about College Game Day coming there for a long time. It's finally happening. Congrats. But I'm agree with you. I think Iowa's gonna win this game fairly well, 30-17.
Yeah, it might be close, but that game's at 3 p.m. on FS1. Iowa is a 1.5 point favorite, so almost a pick'em based game. However, both of us don't believe it will be that close. Moving ahead, let's turn the clock back to last year. Arizona State and the Sun Devils took on Michigan State in Tempe, Arizona, where it was 100 degrees at kickoff. It was the hottest game Michigan State had ever played in regular season, or close to it. And it came down to some late game heroics for Arizona State to get the win. This year, the rematch, 70 degrees, rainy, not fun. I think the Spartans are going to win a close one, and it's not going to be very, very exciting. I've got Michigan State 24, Arizona State 7. I say close because I say close because it will be close until part of the fourth quarter.
Okay. I think I don't think it's gonna be a close game. I think it's gonna be 41-24 Michigan State.
Okay. And they're 14.5 point favorites, so I guess you can see what's going to happen there. Let's go to the game that was supposed to be a ranked-on-ranked matchup and almost got College Game Day go to Orlando yet again. Stanford, UCF. The Knights might just be the best team in the group of five. Not just that, they're the best team, without a doubt, in this game. Seeing how Stanford lost to USC last week, I am convinced, 100%, that they will not even, it won't even be near the opportunity that they would have to get a win. I've got UCF winning 45-30.
I think it's gonna be a close game, but I think that UCF will win this game, 41-31. I guess 10 points would be considered close.
Yeah, I would say close for sure. That game is the midday game on ESPN, as UCF is a 9-point favorite. So you basically take the spread there, Desmond. All right, 2 games left before we peace out here. All right, we talked about what happened in Knoxville last week. BYU helped set that dumpster on fire. Well, the Cougars are trying to do it again. This time they're trying to put USC and drop some, put their pixie dust back in Disneyland. All right. I'm conflicted to pick this one as an upset, but I think USC is going to have just enough. I mean, literally just enough. I've got USC 31-30 in overtime.
Well, George, I'm gonna say USC as well, 27-14.
Okay.
I think that since they're coming off that win against Stanford, I think they're just gonna keep rolling on with the momentum.
Yeah, I think it boosted morale for sure. I wasn't so sure that USC was going to be capable of doing stuff this year, but their backup might actually look better than JT Daniels, who's out for the season. Hot take possibly, but yeah, you get the idea. Finally, the final game we're going to pick this week is the Keystone Classic. And if you're unfamiliar with the Keystone Classic is, that would be the matchup of the 2 state schools in the state of Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh and Penn State square off for what it looks like will be the last foreseeable edition of this rivalry. It also is the 100th overall meeting of this rivalry, and I believe that's how many points we're going to get. It's going to be a good old-fashioned offensive shootout, and the Penn State Nittany Lions will leave Pittsburgh claiming for more than they really have and claim all-time bragging rights until this matchup, until these two teams meet again. I've got Penn State 3 wins in a row in this rivalry, 59-41 over Pitt. Desmond?
Well, George, I mean, definitely we're both going to choose Penn State, but let me double check here real quick. But I will say that I think it's going to be a blowout. I mean, considerably, I think Penn State's going to win this one 49-28.
Okay. Yeah, the Nittany Lions are a 17-point favorite. So
yeah, I think ESPN gave like an 8% chance of winning Pittsburgh.
If that says anything, what Vegas, they're believing it's going to be a shootout or it's going to just be a blowout for one of the teams. That game is at 11 a.m. on ABC. Again, these times are all Central Time zones. Finally, for our new little segment, our little scary good game based off of spread. Again, the rules are it has to be a 4-point spread or less, and you get to either take the team that Vegas and you believe that they're going to cover, they're going to outright, or you say that Purdue, or not Purdue, in this case somebody else, the team against is going to cover or win outright. So Desmond, our scary good game of the week is TCU in Purdue. TCU is coming off of a very early bye week. Purdue is, of course, coming off that big win over Vanderbilt. They are the home team in this game. However, Vegas has got the Horned Frogs as a 2.5-point favorite. This could be an offensive shootout. It could be a defensive showdown in the trenches, because that's what both games that Purdue's have been like. That's what TCU's game was. It was kind of just all over the place. I think I'm taking the money line. I got TCU covering by 3, and that's where I'm going with. Desmond, what about you?
I'm gonna have TCU covering by 9.
So you're going TCU outright.
I mean, sorry, yeah, my fault. TCU outright. Sorry, by 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that just because you don't like what led you to that decision?
It's just gut. Honestly, that one's just a gut feeling.
I got you, and that would be good for the Texas school to finally get a win over a Big Ten team. It seems like a long time coming for that game. All right, Desmond, let's break it down here. Small schools. You know me. I've been on that North Texas train for a pretty long time. But this is the first time I saw North Texas get outplayed, outscored, and more importantly, just straight up lose. They've lost before. Okay, don't get me wrong. They lost to UAB. They lost to Louisiana Tech. They were all close losses. This was the first time I'd seen them since jumping on the bandwagon that they just did not look like themselves. They lost to their rival SMU, if you really call it a rival, 49-27. It was just bad. It was just not good football. And so, get this. For the first time, I am now an official free agent. Okay?
Oh, my.
Yes, you heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. I am a free agent, and I am entering the transfer portal to take my fan talents elsewhere. And in no particular order, the school I can't contain myself. In no particular order, the 3 schools that I will be looking at and watching this week to potentially see what team I will be repping are Wyoming, Hawaii, and Georgia State. All right. Following for next week's episode, you'll have to wait until the very end of the episode to find out who I will be repping. So, again, in no particular order, Wyoming, Hawaii, and Georgia State. North Texas, it's been a great ride, but you know what? Like everything, all good things have to come to an end. Go Mean Green, but time to choose somebody else. Maybe just as my good excuse to choose another new team. Desmond, let's check in on Houston. How did they do against Prairie View last week?
Well, we both know they're going to win that game. They won 37-17. Again, we both know that they're playing Washington State. Hard game. You already know my pick. We'll have to see what happens. But right now, I'm staying loyal to the Houston Cougars.
All right, after this week, next weekend is your last chance. That's the thing. I'm gambling too. I'm taking my picking my team, and I got to stick with them the whole season. So you get one more week to decide, and then it's locked in. Again, for those of you that didn't quite listen last year, Arizona State was Desmond's small school, and North Texas was mine. I believe North Texas had a better record, but Arizona State won their bowl game, and North Texas did not. So take it or leave it. And that's going to put us at the 45-minute mark, which means it's time for us to stop talking, get off the air, and wait till next week. So, in the nicest way possible, that's the easiest way to say it. So long from the Fifth Quarter Podcast. We'll catch you next week on the airwaves. And we are trying to get ourselves on Spotify and iTunes, but for now we are still on YouTube. So signing off from College Station, I am George Koff, and for my colleague in Lubbock,
Desmond McLaughlin.
Saying so long from the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Take care. Enjoy your weekend. Happy college football. And see you next week.